Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Shri Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra Mai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Stotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Stotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद के हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Merry Krishnamas to you all. We'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, titled Creation, Chapter 18, titled Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy, and the last verse, text 50, which is up on the board. We can chant together. Prayasa sadhavo loke Paraydvandveshu yojitaha Navyatanti narishyanti Yata atma gunashrayaha Prayasa sadhavo loke Paraydvandveshu yojitaha Navyatanti narishyanti Yata atma gunashrayaha Prayasa sadhavo loke Paraydvandveshu yojitaha Navyatanti narishyanti Yata atma gunashrayaha Shanti Yata atma gunashraya Prayasa sadhavo loke Paredvandveshu yojitaha Navyatanti narishyanti Yata atma gunashraya Vaishnavis. Avijanti avishkanti yata atma gunashraya. Anyone else? Try. Tvayasa sadhavo loke paredvanveshu yojitaha navyatanti narisyanti yata atma gunashraya. Word for word. Prayasa, generally. Sadhava, saints. Loke, in this world. Paraye, by others. Dvandveshu, in duality. Yojita, being engaged. Na, never. Vyatanti, distressed. Na, nor. Rishyanti, takes pleasure. Yata, because. Atma, self. Aguna ashraya, transcendental. Translation purport by Divine Guru Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, translation. Generally, the transcendentalists, even though engaged by others in the dualities of the material world, are not distressed, nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendently engaged. Purport. The transcendentalists are the empiric philosophers, the mystics, and the devotees of the Lord. Empiric philosophers aim at the perfection of merging into the being of the Absolute. Mystics aim at perceiving the all-pervading Supersoul, and the devotees of the Lord are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the personality of Godhead. Since Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are different phases of the same transcendence, all these transcendentalists are beyond the three modes of material nature. Material distresses and happiness are products of the three modes, and therefore the causes of such material distress and happiness have nothing to do with the transcendentalists. The king was a devotee, and the rishi was a mystic. Therefore, both of them were unattached to the accidental incident created by the Supreme Will. The playful child was an instrument in fulfilling the Lord's will. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the first canto, 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. Okay. We recite the invocation. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lalita Shatam Tajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatirubhascha kripa sindhubhayeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Read the translation again. Generally, the transcendentalists, even though engaged by others in the duality of the material world, are not distressed, nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendently engaged. So we have come to the end of this chapter. Again, Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy, or more so Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a puffed up son of a Brahmana boy. So, if you see the last 10 verses, they have a theme to it. And the theme is, as it goes in the general course of things, Maharaj Parikshit comes across the sage, and out of providence, he feels hunger and fatigue, and he garlands, and because he doesn't receive any reception from the sage, he garlands him with the death snake, and then the sage's son, Shringi, comes to know about it, and then he curses him, and then later on, the father of the Brahmana comes to know, and he regrets the whole incident, and he prays to the Supreme Lord to pardon his son. And as it goes, he later on realizes that what his son has done, and he regrets it, and he just sees this as a hand of providence. And as Prabhupada writes, and as we follow into the next chapter, the appearance of Shukadev Goswami, this is nothing but the setting of the scene for the Bhagavatam to be narrated. So there are a few points that are in this purport that really are quite instructive for all of us, and to some extent you see Srila Prabhupada's broad-mindedness as well, where you see in the first part of the purport, the transcendentalists are the empiric philosophers, the mystics and the devotees of the Lord. Now usually whenever you read any of Prabhupada's purport, something that you will find is that Prabhupada really accelerates our surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada somehow or the other finds a way for us to really come to the platform of pure devotional service. He doesn't really give us any room to say, to take any shortcuts. But here you see he's somewhat acknowledging the empiric philosophers, the mystics, and the devotees of the Lord. Now generally, when we read this purport, nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendently engaged. At times it just puts us in a conundrum. Are we supposed to really put our feet here or there? Are we in the material world, or are we in the spiritual world? Because generally, as conditioned soul that we identify with this world, we tend to be somewhat confused for the most part. And then when we hear things like these, that, just be transcendental to all these worldly things, just to a lame man, that just seems like, okay, explain to us more about it. So what does it really mean? Does a transcendentalist, is a transcendentalist someone who is just spaced out? Does he just, I'm just going to be sitting here, listening to Bhagavatam all day, I'm going to be chanting all day? It just, somehow or the other, unless we fully uh, participate in the teachings or in the words or in the purpose of Srila Prabhupada that he's giving us in the Bhagavatam, we somehow just remain a spectator from the outside. We just see things happening in the different pastimes happening in the Bhagavatam, and then we just see, okay, maybe this relates to me, maybe this doesn't, But we don't fully dive into the nectar of the purports. I was listening to a class by Grace Urmila Mataji, and she was saying that how at times when we go and watch movies, and movies surprisingly are nothing but, if you see the film, it's just a combination of 3 different spectrums of light that's actually being projected upon you. It's nothing more than that. All that you're seeing behind, we see the television screen, but what we see behind that is actually nothing but the interaction of 3 colors. That's what we are seeing. And that's what the modes are doing to us. It's not as cookie cutter as, goodness, passion, ignorance. Like I go and tell Prabhu, you're in goodness. Prabhu, you're in passion, you're in ignorance. It doesn't work like that. It's a conglomeration of these 3 modes that we are always interacting with. So when we see these 3 modes, we identify with it. It's quite natural. For example, I may go out of the temple now and then I have to go and attend to my duties, and I'll be stuck in traffic. I will be affected. It's natural. It's not something I'll be just sitting there, it's okay. It's Krishna's will. Traffic is Krishna's will. It doesn't really matter. But if I have to get somewhere, it'll affect me. That's not the point. Being in this world, transcendental just doesn't mean that we neglect what's out there in this world. Similarly, if you see in the earlier chapters, Arjuna, when he hears about the death of his son Abhimanyu, and he clearly, what does he do there? He's just been told the Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't sit there like, oh, Abhimanyu, I'm unattached to whatever's happened to you. I'm just going to move on. You're on to your next destination. No, he doesn't do that. He's actually sobbing. He's actually distressed of what's happened. And guess who's consoling him? Who's consoling him? Krishna. Krishna's consoling him. So, but that doesn't stop right there. He gets up and he goes back to doing his business. So, with the transcendentalist, it's not they engage in this world, or they engage with things of this world just to see what's in there for them to utilize in service of Krishna. They're always looking, their only principle is somehow or the other, I'll try and see what's there for me to use in Krishna's service. And whatever comes, I take. Whatever doesn't come, it's Krishna's will. I'm not, it doesn't affect me. And this was actually quite vividly displayed in Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. If you read Leelamrita, you'll see, and something that I still find it to be perplexing, but obviously in the bigger scheme of things, Prabhupada knows, and there's a bigger plan. If you read Prabhupada's pastimes in India, before he left for the West, he was approached by a lady to utilize a space or a facility in Jhansi to start his movement, the League of Devotees that he really wanted to start. So he makes every effort to actually establish that center. He writes to his God brothers asking them for help. He tells them, I found this place, please help me. And the Lilamrita described that he really was quite inspired to take up that project. But it comes to a point where somehow or the other, there's some other party that wants that space, and then they cleverly just try to, talk Prabhupada out of it, and Prabhupada just says, okay, it didn't work out, and he walks away. Now, fast forward that, he comes to the US, right, with no belongings. He just comes with a few copies of his Bhagavatam, a few manuscripts, and he starts translating, because he has to translate the purpose, and he has to write his commentaries. And he writes. One day, out of nowhere, someone breaks in, steals all those manuscripts. Just imagine this is something he's been working for minimum of at least 5 or 10 years that he's worked on his manuscript. Just imagine for his hard labor to just have been taken away. And he's not attached. He said, okay. He goes back again and he tries to rewrite his purpose again, and that's what we have today. Now you come to when Prabhupada is in Juhu and he gets the land from Mr. Nair. And he's pushing all his disciples to really accelerate their work in order to get the Hare Krishna land up and running for him to come and stay there. And Mr. Nair Prabhupada called him a demon, so I can also call him a demon. So don't shoot me. Prabhupada's calling him a demon. So Prabhupada said he's a demon. He was literally, prior to Prabhupada, he had cheated everyone who had come to take possession of the land. He would somehow get their deposit. He would promise them, yes, within X amount of time, once you transfer this, the land will be yours, I'll transfer the deed. But he wasn't doing it. He would just prolong the process over and over again, and he had his friends in the in the different departments of the government that were responsible for, let's say, water, electricity, and so on and so forth, other conveyances that have to come with the land. And they were also playing a part in it. They would also delay the devotees. The devotees would go, my Guru Maharaj would say, they would actually leave right after Mangala Arati. They would go, and they were new to India. They would go and take the train to this place, and this person would say, oh, sorry, no, you have to go to this office. So then they would catch a train across the city to go somewhere else, and then they would say, oh, by the way, it's our tea time. Come after, come the next 2 hours. So they would wait there. Then it's 4 o'clock, then they say, oh, sorry, the officer who was supposed to sign this agreement had to leave early because his daughter wasn't well. Okay, come the next day. So they were just prolonging it, and Prabhupada and the devotees just didn't know how to navigate through this. And Prabhupada was in, I think, London or the US, and he cut short his trip, and he comes to Juhu just to help them get through this phase. Now here you see Prabhupada, is he being unattached to the whole working the things? No, he's actually really coming there, making that effort just to get them the land. And later on, Prabhupada said that he explains why was he so attached to it. He said that initially I wasn't that attached to this land, but I made a promise to the deities, Shri Radha Ras Bihari, that I will build, you just stay here and I'll build you a temple here. And then he said that was my promise to them, and it's their land, so I have to do everything. I'll fight every ounce of blood in my body just to get this land, because I've made a commitment to them and it's their land. So we see in the Bhagavad Gita, especially this one verse, the transcendentalists, they're defined as the Mahatmas. And if you look at chapter 9, verse 13, it's a very beautiful verse. Prabhupada will speak on it quite often. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso natva buddhadima vyayam. O Sanaprita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, these Mahatmas are rare, and Prabhupada has created this society to facilitate our longing to be with Krishna, which we have forgotten. So, this path that Prabhupada has given us is actually quite often we take it for granted, but actually, like I was saying earlier, you see in this purport where you speak about the broad manners of Prabhupada, where he's to some extent also including the empiric philosophers, the mystics, and the devotees of the Lord. In common society today, we really don't find the impersonalists that we are told about in the Bhagavatam, neither of the yogis. Today's impersonalists are a hodgepodge of, just a bit of nationalists, they have some political agenda, and then they also want to renounce the world, so they're confused to some extent. Very rare do you find someone who's a true impersonalist. Same goes true for the yogis. A lot of times we see that we meet people, who speak about yoga, kundalini or chakras. Urmila Mataji was saying that she had actually met a true, whom she's perceived to be a true teacher of, I think kundalini yoga. Obviously, she didn't say the name, not to disclose further details, but she said that he was actually quite genuine. And she was speaking to him, and he said that you will find people who have attained perfection, but you won't find them in the masses. And then you won't find them really going out there, broadcasting themselves as, hey, you know what? Guess who I am? You won't be seeing them saying that. But unfortunately, he said that people who do actually also take up this process actually, after some point in time, do suffer from some sort of mental diseases. Because their mental equilibrium isn't that strong enough to really take on that energy that actually is generated. So he equated it to be, does everyone here know of something called a chainsaw? So he said that teaching someone this process of that sort of yoga is just giving a 2-year-old a chainsaw. That's how dangerous it can be. And obviously, when we see these other forms of yoga and these other forms of self-realization, how do we know that they're truly genuine? How do we know that they really are going to lead us to that? It's actually quite simple. If you open chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, and actually the symptoms of someone who's really achieved mastery over their form of self-realization is that they will actually develop these qualities, and the qualities are fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So whatever practice that we follow, the summit should be developing these qualities. And if we aren't, then either we're cheating ourselves or we're cheating, or the process that we're using is actually cheating us. Now, one thing here that was really interesting, and I wanted to speak of a pastime that happened quite recently. Towards the end of the purport, there is Prabhupada writes, therefore, both of them were unattached to the accidental incident created by the Supreme Will. The playful child was an instrument in fulfilling the Lord's will. Now, when we read this pastime, at times we may even think, maybe Parikshit was unfortunate. Maybe this shouldn't have happened. Maybe this whole pastime could have been orchestrated in a different way. Maybe there could have been some, why did he live for only 31 years? Why not another 41 years? And delayed Kali Yuga by another decade. Why? We quite often, at least for me, I ask why. But the good news is that Krishna knows it all, so we don't have to go anywhere. We're in the right place. A lot of times when we see even some happenings or some incidents that happen in devotees' lives, at times it disturbs us. Why does this devotee really have to suffer in this way? Why does the devotee have to go through this ordeal to really get there? Why can't we just see a clean slope going upwards? Why does it have to be, a bit of curves going there? So there's one pastime that I'd heard that has touched me so deeply, and I think I've said it before, but I don't think any of you here, so I can repeat it again. So there's this Prabhupada disciple by the name of Mother Isha. She was based in Boston, and the story was told by Niranjan Maharaj. And as it goes, this Mataji who had joined in the 70s, and she was the oldest of all the devotees at the time. So at the time of devotees joining the movement, the oldest member of the movement was Prabhupada, 78 years of age. And the next was Mother Isha, she was 52. And then the others were in the 20s. So you could see the clear difference between the age groups. And Mother Isha was obviously the mother of everyone. So she would look after everyone. And each time someone would come to the temple, she would be standing outside by the jar of Simply Wonderfuls. And guess what was the service? She would just, the moment someone would come, she would just pluck out the Simply Wonderfuls and says, Hari Bol, spirit soul, and put the Simply Wonderfuls in their mouth. Boop, boop, and boop. And that was the service. And then she would do that day in and day out. And she was so blissful that anyone who would know Mother Isha even once, they would just feel so attached to her that, and her love for Prabhupada was something that was so captivating that you couldn't just escape it. Seeing her would make you feel so appreciative of Prabhupada, or what Prabhupada would, had how he had touched her. So anyway, years went by. Niranjan Maharaj moved out of Boston. He started traveling. He had different services that come through, and then I think in 2010, 11, can't remember exactly, he moved back to Boston for some treatment, and then he was there for some time, and he really was trying he's all of a sudden he wanted to meet with Mother Isha. So he sent devotees around and said, can you find where Mother Isha is, because it's been a while, it's been at least a decade that I haven't seen her, and I would like to see her. So devotees went about to find where Mother Isha was, and finally they found out that she had actually suffered a stroke 10 years ago, and she was now living in an aged care facility. So Niranjan Maharaj said, okay, can we do something to bring her to our, he said, I have some devotees at a home, and he said, can we bring her here, and can she stay with us, because in that way we can look after her. But her family had signed some sort of, there was some sort of legal stipulation in which she couldn't leave the aged care home, and then the family was just creating so much of a mess for her to even come out. So they said, okay, well, we can't do much. So they end up going to the aged care facility to see her, and then they go there, and they go to the reception and say, we are here to see Mother Isha. Or they say, oh, what's her name? Mother Isha. They couldn't find it. So then they said, oh, maybe they looked her up by a legal name. They looked her up by a legal name. They go to her bed, or her room, and there she is. She was just sleeping. And then they're trying to, Niranjan Maharaj is saying, Hari Bol, and, she isn't waking up. And then they felt a bit, despondent, like, oh, we came here to see her, we didn't get to see her. Then they go down, and then while they're walking out, the nurse is coming in, and the nurse says, stop, who are you? And they said, we are the Hare Krishnas. And they're like, Hari Bol. And she said, and they said, she said, are you all leaving right now? And she said, yeah, we are. She's just resting. She's like, no, if you just wait for another half an hour, she'll wake up, and as soon as she gets up, she just washes her mouth, and we wheel her into the I would say like a guest room, or like a big room where everyone from the aged care facility come, for a social time. So please wait. She'll go there, and then guess what? She'll lead kirtan. And they're like, what? She'll lead kirtan? Yeah, if you just wait. They're like, okay, well, we'll see. So they come out, and then she gets up, and they're just, Niranjan Maharaj, all of them are just at a distance. They're not, interrupting. So then they go. The nurse is wheeling Mataji to the facility, and then for 20 minutes, she's just leading kirtan, with full pranams, with the whole kirtan. Everyone is, she has kartal, she's playing, And they were like, what's happening here? Just 20 minutes ago, we just couldn't get any response from her. And then at the end of 20 minutes, Niranjan Maharaj intervened, and he goes up to her and he says, Mother Isha, please accept my humble obeisance. And she says, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And he's like, do you remember me, Mother Isha? And then she just can't remember him. And then he says, do you remember Srila Prabhupada? Oh, Srila Prabhupada, the savior of the most fallen. And then she's speaking about Prabhupada for like good 20 minutes. And then again, other devotees, other contemporary of Niranjan Maharaj who was there with them, he comes like, Mother Isha, you remember me? And she's looking at him and she's like, Then he says, Mother Isha, do you remember Prabhupada at Boston doing this? And she's like, and then again she starts speaking. Like, what's happening here? Then they go in, and then she's quite exhausted, and then they retire, and then the nurse comes out, and she's like, every day at sharp 3 p.m., she comes out, she does kirtan, and she goes back in. And the only two names that she ever thinks about is Krishna and Prabhupada. And Niranjan Maharaj is like, look at Krishna, how wonderful he is, that he took everything from her, but the only thing he gave her was himself and the love of us. That only thing that remained with her was himself and the love for a spiritual master. The verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, to those that, which verse is it, 920? Persevere with faith, to them I carry what I preserve what they have and I carry what they lack. So, this is what Krishna actually does in our hearts. He's busy in our hearts. He's like a Devamrit Maharaj would always say that the super soul of Krishna is not lazy. He's actually busy in your hearts. The moment you start chanting, the moment you take up the process, he actually is at work within your hearts. He's actually doing something. So, in this instance, Niranjan Maharaj was just, he just was bewildered. He said, I have nothing to say. I mean, what I thought was such a calamity, was such an unfortunate incident in Mother Isha's life that her entire memory was wiped out. She couldn't remember anything, but the only thing she remembered were the holy names and Prabhupada. That is something that, and it says here, Krishna is the supreme mystic of all mystics. That's what Krishna actually does. So in our lives too, what this verse is saying that we have an ashraya. What's our ashraya? Is our ashraya material nature or is our ashraya Krishna? We have to choose one of those. We can't be, walking on two. We should somehow or the other try to come to the point where even though we engage in worldly things, that we are in the ashraya of Krishna. Perfect example what the 6 Goswamis, His Grace Gauranga Prabhu was saying, and I'm pretty sure this detail is explained somewhere, that when the 6 Goswamis were in Vrindavan, it wasn't just that they were just writing these literatures and singing bhajans. They were actually also dealing with the Nawabs, the Mughals, to get the rations of different forms of cement and different ingredients that are needed to build temples. They actually had relationships with them just for the temples to be built and for it to be maintained. So, and that's why you also see in Prabhupada's pastime. I'll actually end with one Prabhupada pastime that I'd heard from His Holiness Romapad Maharaj. And he was saying that it was in LA that Prabhupada was, I can't remember, Shrutakirti Prabhu was actually serving him. And Prabhupada was, all of a sudden he had a phone call. And he was on a phone call. And from what Shrutakirti Prabhu or whoever was serving him gathered was that this was something to deal with a property settlement, a property transaction. So Prabhupada is listening, and he has a white sheet of paper, right? And he's writing, it seems like he's writing down something. And Prabhupada's like, yes, and yeah, do, yes, no, do it like that. He's just giving him instruction what to do. And then the call ends, and Prabhupada hangs up, gives the phone to the servant. And then after some time, Prabhupada leaves that desk and goes to attend to some other service. And then this devotee comes and looks at the piece of paper to see what a Prabhupada has written. Maybe, some reference instructions when you're dealing with property transaction. How should you do? How should you deal with it? You know what Prabhupada had on that sheet? Any guesses? Krishna's names, yeah? He wrote the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on those names. That was his meditation while he was dealing with, you can say, a property transaction. So I know it's for us, at least for myself, being in this conditioned existence, it's something to look up to, but there is hope for all of us. And the more we remain in the association of devotees and the more we look to serve Srila Prabhupada, that we do develop some sort of, that hankering for transcendental existence. So I just have 2 minutes, and as usual, I'm always late. Anyone have any questions, comments, clarification, addition, subtraction? Yes, Prajpan Prabhu.
Just told me about this example of Mother Isha.
Yeah.
She was exclusive with Srila Prabhupada. So is that the highest gradation of perfection? That one should be exclusive with their Guru Maharaj, or should they have lots of different
Shiksha.
So how does that work?
Good question. I remember once, I'll answer slightly differently, then I'll come to your. I was listening to a class by my Guru Maharaj, and he was saying that a lot of times we hear that, Vapu is so important, physical service to a spiritual master is so important. But then we also hear Vani, like the instructions. And he had once heard Prabhupada say that, yes, instructions are important, but the physical presence of a spiritual master is good, because when you're going astray, the spiritual master can twist your ear and, correct you. If I were to consider what you've said, there are some examples of some disciples who barely even spent, I would say, not more than even 10 minutes with Prabhupada. Some got a lot of association, some didn't get much. But in terms of our shelter, I remember when I wrote to my Guru Maharaj, he said that we're all serving Srila Prabhupada, and I'm here to assist you with that. So at least the instruction that he gave to me was that I follow him in his service to Srila Prabhupada, and that's how I'm supposed to, channel my life and just somehow or the other assist every devotee in some way or the other get closer to Prabhupada, and that'll please Prabhupada. For example, the Brahmacharis got in a book distribution there. Once someone told me that if you distribute books, you're in the direct radar of Prabhupada's vision, so always distribute books. So, that's to me, having that attachment to Prabhupada is definitely, for me personally, I think that's been my guiding light through the agency of my spiritual master, that I've somehow or the other been, and in the association of loving devotees and in the association of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, that I've somehow or the other still been around. So I hope by your blessings, the blessing of the Vaishnavas, that I can somehow or the other continue my journey. Yeah. Anyone else? Joy. Joy. Anything else? Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Tagore Premanande. Srila Prabhupada ki.